It's really nice to finally get a show that isn't based around one of the Avengers. It's nice. It's nice
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined this week by fellow Bafflegabbers Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Ian Whittington.
What?
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. I'm confused. I don't even know what that sound was.
I don't
was
know.
it a word?
You just like...
Yeah, all right.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
Cockney.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
I thought you like stubbed your
governor.
toe, or maybe your dick went in the dirt, or I don't know.
It would be,
It was my Wilhelm scream.
it would be the Cockney version of like the AI GHT kind of thing. Like, you know.
Exactly
Yeah.
the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what
I
it is.
get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm a man of the world. I'm a man of culture. I get all these references, of course.
Behind the beat star sins. Welcome.
Yes.
Beatstar, my goodness. Yeah.
It is.
It's become a thing amongst some of our fans. So, Ian is on it. Danae is on it.
Guess
I'm on
you like
it.
Beyond the Sins better now, everybody.
Nobody has any point of
No one's gonna
reference.
there are literally 30 people that will get that.
That's who it's for. It's for the lovely
That's amazing.
dozen.
Yes. Yes. So we are excited to bring you another look behind what goes on in the world of CinemaSins. So let's get right into it with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
Going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, and how we felt about the stuff we are sinning. Commercial sins. McDonald's Fishy. I wrote on this one. Do you guys remember this commercial at all? Now, Ian, I know you don't remember a lot of these commercials because they weren't for you. But
Can I tell you that this was not the commercial I thought it was going to be when I saw what the title was? I thought it was going to be that one from a while ago where it was that, give me back my fillet of fish, give me my fish.
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
we've used in outtakes.
Mm-hmm.
But that was about this is about the bites though, which they don't still exist, do they?
No, and they've never come back. I think this was late 2000s.
I wonder why.
Well, no, I do wonder why. Like, that was the thing when I started looking at this and kind of researching what happened with this Fish Bites product, or excuse me, Fish McBites, as they were called. The thing is, a lot of people really liked them. Like, there was a very fervent, group of people that thought these were, amazing fish product, and then they just never came back. But also this song, this Fish McBites, McBites, Fish McBite, like it was super catchy apparently enough that it just kind of invaded people's ear worms for a while.
I remembered it once I saw it. I just, like I said, I just assumed when I saw fish, that's the one I always think of as the fillet of fish commercial from like probably, I don't know, the early 2000s or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to sin something like this in some ways, and in some ways it's kind of freeing, but it's just a dumb jingle commercial. Like, there's not a lot really going on here, except, it's, in the woods, and it's a cabin, and, the talking fish. Based on, what was the original one? Like Billy Bass or something like that. I forget the original singing.
I can't remember. See, this is bad. I can't remember what it was advertising, but I remember the fish, which means it was a bad advert.
Well,
you're talking about like the actual product you could get, like the talk.
It was advertising itself. It was a product.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, there was just a fish that you would hang on your wall like it was a trophy, and then when people would walk by it, it would just start singing or whatever, and it was supposed to freak them out or make them laugh or whatever. And this is kind of aping on that a little bit, but yeah, there's not much other to this other than like I couldn't figure out why they're pre-preparing their sauces. Like, why are you opening all the sauces and putting them in your various fish containers? I mean, I know it's for the commercial because they wanted you to see all the sauces. But yeah, what about you guys, Jonathan? What are some of your thoughts?
Well, just in general, like I'm not a huge fish person, but if I am gonna eat it, I'm probably gonna like eat it where it's really well prepared. Like I don't know, fast food like McDonald's fish. That I don't know. I just don't know why I would ever go to McDonald's and get fish.
Yeah.
But some people do, clearly, because they've had the McFish or whatever forever. So
Yeah, the fillet of fish. Yeah.
fillet of fish. McFish. It might as well be called, I don't know, why is it not called McFish?
Or
like,
McFillet,
that's the real
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
But I like, which you actually said that. Doesn't every food you eat at McDonald's consist of McBites? Also sadness, but mostly McBites.
Yeah.
And then I also liked answering a question directed at someone else. If she wanted your thoughts, Minnow Dick, she'd have asked you. I just thought that was really funny. The commercial is really weird. And like Ian, I kind of forgot what it was about at one point. And it was a really good video.
What about you, Ian? What are some of your thoughts?
So I don't think, to my knowledge, these Fishy McBites never made it to the UK, and on behalf of my country, I say thank you. I don't know. Apparently people liked them, but they don't look too appealing to me. The most baffling bit of the commercial for me was that they're presumably they're in Alaska in a cabin. So if this pollock came from Alaska and it's fresh, why aren't they having fresh pollock from Alaska? Like,
Instead of
why are you going
McDonald's?
to McDonald's to get this Alaskan pollock when you are near the fish?
Yeah, can you imagine living by an ocean and eating fillet of fishes from McDonald's?
Ian, you are so right, and I feel terrible that I didn't include a sin on that, because that is so true. Like,
I imagine
you are
they had to
literally-
commute 30 miles to get to a McDonald's when the fish was at the hut.
Everything around you says, I am a hunter fisherman, and yet you're getting fish from McDonald's. Yes.
Why?
Yeah, why?
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, very
McDonald's
true.
is 100% you don't feel like cooking. Like, I mean, that's all McDonald's is, like, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not
100%.
feeling it. But that guy's actually hunting.
And I don't feel
He
like
would-
cooking, and no single other fast food restaurant is open right now.
It's a Sunday, so no Chick-fil-A. There is, my options are limited right now.
There's no Oscar's Taco Shop. It's
That's
Sunday.
right.
There's nothing just lying on the floor that I can
That's
eat.
right. I guess I have to go to McDonald's.
The stuff in my car, floor is expired.
Yeah. Anything else, Ian?
No, that was it.
All right.
I was quite happy
All right.
making that point.
Let's move into TV sins then. We will kick it off with Hawkeye. Never meet your heroes. That's right.
Yay.
We're sending the Hawkeye show. Now we can talk about it. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan, let's start with your thoughts on Hawkeye in the first episode and just kind of how you're feeling about this show.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally get to talk about this because I didn't really see the point in talking about it until we actually were talking about the video. I will say, which granted, we'll get into the later stuff when we go forward, but I would say from beginning to end, this is my favorite MCU series so far.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I think the stronger parts of WandaVision are better than anything in Hawkeye, but WandaVision, once it became more like an MCU thing, I didn't like it as much. I still liked it. Like, I liked Agatha, but like I didn't really care too much about the government bad guy and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Hawkeye, which is not a character I've ever really been super invested in. It's not a comic book I've never really, I guess, except for like occasionally reading Avengers comics. I assume he's had his own comic. I don't know. But he's not a character I'm really close to. Like, I don't have a lot of feel for either way. So that's interesting that this was the show that really like captured me. But I think this show is just so much fun. And I think Renner and Haley Steinfeld play so well off each other.
Yeah. I think that has a lot to do with it.
And I like that you just like even like a character like her mom, like they bring in Vera Farmiga, I mean, that's she's great. I actually really like what's his name? I didn't write his name. The guy that we make Jack. I actually end up really liking him as the show goes on, and I'm really glad we saved our ass in this video with that sin because whether or not he becomes a bad guy.
Yeah. Good shout.
Yeah.
So I like that bait and hook. I also think, like I said, we'll talk about this more later, but in the incoming weeks. But I enjoyed more how the way this show brings in previous characters. I found way more exciting and well done than a movie that a few people have seen in the theaters recently. It's something about going home or you can't go home. I don't know. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, we could be talking about Beatstar and you'd find a way to rag on Spider-Man.
It's called like Arachnaboy or something.
Yeah.
Is it the worst movie ever made? Something like that.
Yeah, Spider-Man, fuck your home. I don't know. Something like that. But no. But seriously, though, I just really enjoyed this because I didn't really have a lot of fun with Loki. Not as much fun as everybody else was having, at least. So it was really nice. I don't know. I wasn't too excited about this, and I really the Christmas setting was kind of like, I don't know that I want to see like a Christmas show, but I think that works in a weird way.
I think so too.
I don't know. I just really love this. Like, I had an absolute blast with this. This is probably the first show that I'm like, I might watch this again. But I don't know if I will, but I say that. I love just some of the stuff we got to play around with. I like that we brought Jeremy Sen in from the Avengers.
That was fun. It was really fun, yeah.
Video. We had done something like that on Music Video Sins once, and so I just remember that. I'm like, oh, that'd be fun, because I was like, I know there's a Sen about this, like, specific scene, you know, and so I went and found one that worked, and I saw somebody even commented, like, I thought Aaron did a really good impression of Jeremy.
Perfect. Spot on.
I also thought the Sin was funny, just the construct of it, the Dennis Leary thing where Aaron sings part of the Dennis Leary song, I'm an Asshole, which was, for any of you that are as old as me, might remember that Dennis Leary had a song called I'm an Asshole that he did like in a stand-up bit, and they made a music video of it. It kind of was a semi, whatever. I mean, it was a pop culture moment, I guess. But when I originally wrote it, Danae and maybe even Aaron both noted something about it. What I thought they were noting was they didn't understand the reference, but what they were actually saying was that I was being really mean to Dennis Leary, which I was. That's how it came off. I wasn't trying to be mean. It was just the way I wrote it. So I remember that got kind of massaged and changed up, and I think it was definitely for the better of it. I also, the only other thing I wanted to mention before we go on, I liked Aaron talking about Christmas movies.
Yeah.
But I will say, I do agree with you to a point, but I do think now we actually have them. And
yes.
But it's not, it's the Hallmark stuff, right? I mean, those have to be Christmas movies, right?
It's overstating the extreme of a viewpoint, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's taking to the end result. Like the idea that the hot take is there actually are no Christmas movies, like that is an invalid genre, is hilarious to me because it is so far over the top.
Absolutely.
But there's also just enough truth to it that you kind of go, you don't have it all wrong point there. Yeah,
no, it's absolutely, like, I didn't think that was like you weren't just like, this is my opinion and I'm not moving. I didn't think it was that. It was definitely the narrator overstating. But but it just made me think about that. Like, no, I think I agree with that. But then I was like, but God, these, whatever, I don't know what we call these Hallmark movies and stuff now. They're Hallmark movies.
I can tell you why I'm so well versed in this discussion. It's because of Christian, quote unquote, music. The idea that there's something about music that makes it Christian music or something. You know what I mean? Like so I've had this discussion in other places before.
That's
so
a good
applying
comparison
to Christmas movies is an interesting thing.
And in the grand scheme of things, that's always the weirdest thing to me. There's not another like time of year where people debate something like that just like so aggressively too. Like, if you like to watch something at Christmas, whatever it is,
that's right.
Watch it.
Yeah.
And shut up.
Star Trek Generations is a Christmas movie. It has a 5-minute Christmas scene on Christmas Day. Christmas movie.
I watch Arsenic and Old Lake every Halloween. Old Lace almost every Halloween, just because it's not really like a horror movie, but it's just set on Halloween, and it makes me think of like that's the spirit I like to capture, So I totally get it. Yeah. It's just funny, and I know some of it's just a joke. I know a lot of the Die Hard stuff people just joke about and stuff, but there are people that take that very seriously.
Yeah, there are. There certainly
are.
My
wife takes it pretty seriously. If you told her Die Hard wasn't a Christmas movie, she might kick your dick in the dirt. I don't know, but we have a John McClane. What do you call those things? The things that are really collectible.
A Christmas topper?
No, the pops or what are those like figures?
Oh, the Funko
called?
Pops.
Funkos, yes. We have a John McClane Funko that she wanted a Christmas party that we put
amazing.
on.
I really now want a John McClane Christmas topper.
I'll give you this one. I'll see if I can sneak it out of the house, and so she'll know I don't want to see it anymore. So, but anyways, this was really fun. I thought this was really, but like also just like with movies, I think this was really fun to send. I always enjoy sending stuff that I actually enjoy watching a lot more than something I'm kind of having to be like, I don't like this. So
yeah. Right from the beginning, bring on the Hawkeye shade. Very first sin is like, this dude isn't even in his own logos for about like half a second. Like, so yeah, just the running Hawkeye shade through this episode, and let's just say maybe beyond.
It might get worse.
It might actually get worse as it goes on.
I feel like Ian started that, right? It was on It was What If, right? It was one of the What Ifs. You were like the world's mightiest heroes and Hawkeye.
And
I think that's where
Yeah.
So blame Ian if you're a Hawkeye lover.
Bring it. It feeds me.
There is an interesting thing too, because of the process of waiting out claims and different things, like, how these get released. We are releasing the first episode after the final episode has aired, but everything written in this first episode was when we had only seen the first 2, right? Because they dropped the first 2.
I think that's right.
And we maybe had seen 3 by the time this finalized. I'm not sure. So there is a lot of, like you had mentioned, like, I'm glad we kind of caveat some of that stuff. And it's just like, because it'll sound so weird to somebody who's like, that's not the case, right? And it's like, no, we didn't, But the narrator is supposed to not have that knowledge anyway, even though we play around with that concept. So I think it works overall. The present day sins, I'm always going to do them every time somebody gives a present day title. It's always happening. For whatever reason, it's one of the most annoying things to me that you title the time of something present day. Because
but Aaron, it's present day for them.
That's the truth. Any movie, anytime. You could say a flashback is present day if it's present day for them. Anyhow, yes.
I honestly, I don't even know, like, just in general, just dating something is sometimes weird to me. I mean, I guess I get it if you're doing like a 30 years later, so you want to say at the beginning, it's like it's 1963 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. Just, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know why it's needed, basically.
If you're afraid that the audience isn't going to know you've made a time jump, then A, you're probably not doing your job well enough. Like you should be able to do that visually, right? And B, if there's some other factor that makes it, more difficult to know what's going on, the one I like the best is just, 30 years later, 3 days earlier, because then you have like a reference point and then everything balances around that reference point without having to give a year. Now, I mean, if the year is actually important to the story, then, give the year. But
I like when they sometimes, it was funny because we talked about Halloween 3 I think it was on the outtakes of the last episode. And in that one, it even has like the day of the week. It's like Tuesday, October 29th. Yeah. What the hell does it matter that it's Tuesday? Like
5:53 p.m. Yeah.
All that's going to make me do is go back to 1979 and check that was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Doesn't Psycho open with something like that? Isn't it like Wednesday? Like I swear it does. I could be wrong, but
the other thing that super annoyed me about this episode was that weak bell, as if wrapping an arrow around a bell was going to be, and ringing it a couple times, was going to be enough to bring down the entire tower. If that's the case, that was tragedy waiting to happen. She did you a favor if that bell was that weak. Like, that really super annoyed me. Ian, what about you? What are some of your thoughts?
It's really nice to finally get a show that isn't based around one of the Avengers. It's nice. It's nice just to see one of the side characters.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Holy shit! I had no idea what you were gonna say, and no idea what you were gonna say. That's hilarious.
And that's my thoughts on Hawkeye. So, yeah, no, you guys covered it. I really, for all of the shade, I love this show so much.
I guess I didn't say that. I love this show too. I really had a good time with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It almost feels like it's too bland and non kind of impactful to be the favorite, because WandaVision has some like huge drama, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Jonathan, by saying the best moments in WandaVision are better than anything in this. But as a complete package and as like a movie that I'd be happy to sit down and watch, Hawkeye wins. Like, Loki is a close second, but there's something about the show that's just harmless enough to I'm just going to sit down and enjoy it.
To be fair, the best moments in WandaVision are better than a lot of the movies.
Yeah, correct.
So, I love what WandaVision's doing. Yeah, I actually, since we're just kind of going over rankings, I actually have in my mind, I haven't like written this down, but I have Loki first. I think I really loved Loki.
Yeah.
I think I do,
and
as
I
well.
think I do have WandaVision still over Hawkeye, but I really do enjoy Hawkeye. So
it's so close at the top there. It's a really lovely show. I love the way it goes. I think you're right. It does the cameos that it does are done really well, with one exception that we'll get to. But yeah, video was great. You've pretty much pulled out everything. Apart from I didn't understand the I'm an asshole dog joke still made me laugh. I was just like, if I was laughing with a group of people, they'd be like, well, yeah, but do you even get it? I was like, I don't care.
I don't think anyone under like 41 gets it, so it's fine.
Well,
the delivery was great.
We do reference the reference, I think, in this. We do say, like, Dennis Leary sings or something.
100%.
So you
can I still was missing
context. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
But just the delivery was enough to make me laugh. I was like, I get that. I don't get that reference, but I laughed at it.
Yeah.
And the extended laugh removal scene for I Can Do This All Day was just long enough to be ridiculous. It was great. It's so good. Just
the musical, that part just gives me so much joy. That part of this episode, I was just like, oh, I want to see more of this Marvel that's willing to kind of undercut itself, be silly about itself. That's kind of what I liked about a lot of the WandaVision stuff too. Like, you know, it kind of undercut the normal formula of what was going on. Still don't know why they're talking about shawarma in the musical, as if that's some sort of well-known instance of
I saw people
Avengers
were
lore.
commenting on that too. They were like, well, I mean, an interviewer, he could have talked to Steve Rogers to get information for the show, and then Steve Rogers told him.
Yes, but still, why would you put it in the musical when nobody knows about it? Even if you told it to an interviewer. Yeah.
Any number of ways it could have happened, but it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's all from me.
All right, then. Nobody wants to talk about Pizza Dog? All right, we'll move on.
Nope.
We are going completely in order with What If. There has not been any kind of need to go out of order.
That's bullshit. You know that's not true.
Hey, it's Danae!
Hey, Danae. Somebody tweeted, I don't know if it's true, I don't know if they were joking or not, I couldn't tell. Somebody tweeted, like, they seriously think this is the final episode.
Yeah, we had meetings about it actually. We were like, really long discussions. So listen, when we get together, one of the most important parts of our meetings and our structures for what we release for our content is how can we fuck with you guys the most.
Yes.
And it was decided that if we put them out of order, that was one way. And then I think it was Jonathan, wasn't it your idea that you were like, you know what, let's just not release this one for as long as we can.
I think it was Jonathan that came up with that idea. Yeah,
that's what happened.
Sounds right. I remember that conversation.
Yeah. So that's what we did. And so, haha, we got you.
The episode is the Thor episode. Thor was an only child. What if Thor was an only child? Danae and Ian writing on this one. So, yeah.
Did we write on this one?
Did we?
I think you guys
One of us did.
I think you guys did.
Oh, man.
Danae,
You were like, we have to write on the season finale. Please let us write on the season finale.
That's right.
That's exactly it. I have to say, so I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about this series at all since I've been on my BTS hiatus. And because I love you guys so much, I haven't been listening to the show at all either. So without like rehashing too much, are you guys enjoying What If in general? Because this is the last time we'll talk about it on BTS, right?
Yeah, it probably is. Overall, What If is a really mixed bag for me, which is understandable considering its kind of nature is the stories are different. I think the bringing it all together at the end, before the finale of Thor, was really, really smart in some ways, but also undercut a lot of things in logical ways that was difficult. So yeah, I'm just kind of mixed on it. I really like some of the episodes, but there are others I could do without.
What Aaron said. I might like it a little less, but it's what Aaron said 100%. Yeah. This was the worst episode in my opinion.
I agree. I actually agree.
Yeah.
I don't know why they made it the finale. That was dumb. Go out on such a bad one.
Ian, what did you about the same for you? Because it was about the same for me too.
Yeah, exactly the same. I'm kind of lukewarm on the whole thing. I like the interconnectivity of all of it. It definitely raised it up a few notches. And yeah, this one in particular, it feels like the most fun, but the dumbest of all of them.
Yeah,
just pointless. It doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, at the end of the episode, like, well, so what was the purpose of this episode?
Yeah. It's got the weakest jumping off
weren't
point.
Brothers, but then they actually still are like bros too.
Yeah,
and then,
it's so weird. What's that? Why do they even have a relationship? It's just
Loki should not have been in this episode. That was dumb.
I mean, it was interesting to see him, in like his full frost giant glory or whatever. And that's the thing I feel like the What If series gets to do is it gets to kind of check some boxes for fans to see their characters in these other alt worlds
Right.
that are part of the comic series, and it's kind of fun. The animation style grew on me a lot. At first it was a little jarring, but I really enjoy it because it's so comic book like. But yeah, this one was a huge bummer, because the other thing about it is Thor is still kind of a party god, even in his normal timeline that we know him as. It's just he's had, some meaningful relationships that have sort of reined in certain parts of him, but he really wasn't too different. Like I don't know, it just didn't seem like, it seemed like it was more like we want to see Thor and Loki and Jane again, and we need to have these characters in whatever they're doing based on bringing all the people together. So I don't know. It was disappointing. And sometimes those are hard to write on because you're just like, I just want to be done with this. So I'm glad it actually wasn't the finale, because it was a bummer of a one to see.
Yeah.
Personally, it was depressing and it was sad, and you're just like, gosh, these people are getting paid to do this. Like, what are they even doing with their lives? You just judge it all. I'm kidding.
Did you morph into Brodene because you watched so much Bro Thor?
Yeah.
Bro Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, Bro Thor. Ugh.
Yeah.
And of course he's partying in Vegas. Like, they couldn't come up with something less
And
cliche.
his mom is the one that cleans everything up, and Jane tells. It's just such a weird premise. It was kind of like everyone just sort of checked out on the day that this one was created.
Yeah.
I feel like they needed something. They needed caffeine or something to just make it more interesting.
It's an interesting extension of where the character has gone in the movies, because when the character started, there wasn't quite as much broiness to this character, but as the movies have gone on, that has definitely become, I think especially Taika has definitely emphasized that part of the character.
That's true.
And that he has become comic relief in many ways, which is, an interesting progression.
Which worked in Ragnarok. I don't know that it worked as well in Infinity War and Endgame.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I think that probably has to do with Taika. I think Taika knows how to do that, play that line better. Because Ragnarok, I liked it when I first saw it. It's really grown on me. It's one that I now kind of love. The first two Thor movies don't really interest me. I know people don't like Dark World, but I'm just saying even the first one. And Jane's not a very interesting character. I like Natalie Portman, but just that character is kind of bland, and you kind of saw that. Because even in the animated version, Darcy's so much more interesting than Jane.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Jane's fronting the next Thor movie, so
that's true. That's true. So hopefully they
figured it out. Yeah.
And Taika's involved, so hopefully there's something going. But that's even got a goofy title, right? It's like Love and
Thunder.
Love of Thunder. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that sounds like a romance novel where Thor's on the cover with his chest open. Yeah, okay.
Or maybe just straight up porn. I mean,
could be. Let's find out. All together, that's our Sin Week video. The whole team coming together to watch a Thor porn.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Nope.
I'm sorry, what? What are we talking about? Sorry, my brain just went to 5 places at once. I also wanted to mention, too, that I think that the other thing that's fun and about the What If series is when you have two characters that are fighting each other that don't normally fight. Because I did enjoy watching Thor and Captain Marvel, just pounce each other. It's easy to break that thing apart and sin that, but that was also fun to see.
Fun. Yeah.
Like to see a god and Captain Marvel go at it. I really do. That's part of the porn too. Anyways, but to see them, I want to see them go in space and destroy shit. So I don't know. It was either not far enough or it was too far. I did not enjoy it.
We just don't care, because what damage can they do to each other?
Well, yeah, that's the question is at what point, where do they have to go to get to the end? And the fact that it was a mom having to step in and be like, Thor, you're supposed to be studying. It's like, what?
Oh, man.
What just happened?
Yeah. Ian, what about you? What are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, pretty much what Danae said. I like Bro Thor a lot better than I like Slob Thor in Endgame, that's for sure. But it's still, it's the weakest. You've got, how many episodes were there? 10 altogether? 9? 10?
There were supposed to be 10 and there were 9 because one couldn't be aired for some reason.
Yeah, and 7 they released last inexplicably.
But strange.
What's baffling to me is that you have 9 attempts or 10 attempts to tell a what if story. Who was fighting for? So what if bro Thor didn't have Loki and went to Vegas. How did that win? How did that beat the hundreds of other options that you possibly had at the table fighting for their half an hour animated shows? Yeah, it frustrates me they went in this direction. Having said that, gone.
I think they start with the end, right? Like who they want their final team to be, and then they just justify it and work backwards.
Yeah, for sure. But why do you want him on your final team? Like,
we'll find out when we see the movie, I guess.
My guess in that room of decision making, somebody was like, we just need a fun romp episode that's dumb and fun, and
maybe
that's who Thor is in the MCU now, so let's build it around him. Like, something along those lines.
And then you do get the
Ian and I feel like we're kind of on the outside of that argument about Endgame. I think a lot of people found him funny in Endgame.
Definitely a lot of people did.
I just don't get
all
it.
Power to you. I mean, I'm glad if you did. I mean, obviously, I'm glad it worked on you, but I just, that was like one of my least favorite parts.
Yeah, no, didn't enjoy it. And you do get the stinger at the end of the Ultron that we've seen, or the Ultron that we're about to see in the next episode.
Makes even less sense why this was the finale. I mean, we just saw him. For the past
this is
two
the
episodes.
setup for the previous two episodes.
Yeah, we keep this going.
Just the whole time.
So that's my thoughts on the episode. However, I still had a good time, like, which I think I'm on an island with this. It was still, as much as we've seen how many characters they pack into it, it was fun to see a few of these lesser known characters on screen. Baffling to me that they managed to get Jeff Goldblum back, and that's what they did with him. Just what a waste of a voice. One of the most recognizable voices you can have, and this is what you do. Yeah, baffling.
I feel like Jeff Goldblum's just always hanging out, and he's more than happy to do whatever you'd like him to do. Like, he seems like the most chill. Like, I don't know if he is, but he seems that way.
Yeah, he was just, can you give us some lines? Yeah, whatever. And they built the episode around the lines that he read.
Can I have a gin and tonic while we're doing it? Yeah, I'm down. Maybe have a piano playing in the background. Let's do this.
That'll work. Let's do it. In terms of the Sins Hangover part, Thor was my crowning achievement, because it works because there were only 3 Hangover films. It's great. And Darcy says, I could go on, and the narrator says, I'd really prefer if you didn't, quirky McFlirty, comic reliefy, awkward fun, speaks a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Good stuff. I have already kind of expressed my opinions on the episode. They're very similar to everybody else's. This is a really fun video you guys did. The simplest sins are some that get me the most sometimes. Just sinning huzzah. I don't know why.
Why did he say it?
Right.
Huzzah.
It's just like...
Huzzah. Thor says huzzah.
I love that kind of stuff.
God, I don't understand it.
Really appreciated the multiple PhD holding genius female lead goes from a dogged mission to save the world to why doesn't he love me quicker than Steve Rogers comes to save the day in the Captain Carter episode. I love that we are continuing to send that in other episodes.
Oh, it deserves to be said.
It does. It does.
Ridiculousness.
And then of course, I have to shout out Mallard Justed. The Howard the Duck Easter eggs are like whack cocaine to some people. Not me, though. I'm nowhere near that Mallard Justin.
And it's just like, go do a Howard the Duck thing or don't. But like, I'm tired of just seeing them pop up. Like, go make a movie or just forget about them.
I just watched that movie for the first time recently, actually.
That was the first time? Well, that makes sense because you weren't watching many movies.
Yeah. So
I was there opening night. I was excited.
Goodness.
I was 10 years old, Ian.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize when it was. It's that old? Oh, sorry, not that you're old.
No, I am old. No, that's totally fair. No, 86. I was born in 76, so yeah.
Yeah. That movie goes some places, huh? That movie is very, very sexual.
That movie causes you to ask some anatomical questions.
It sure does.
I mean, that's just kind of the 80s, though, in general.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of movies like that where you're like, but they do, since you've seen it recently, they do play off that she's supposed to be joking with him about coming on to him, but it doesn't really completely read that way, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Definitely.
But, I mean, that movie should show you that Leah Thompson is a really good actor because the fact that she got through that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Tim Robbins is in that too, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's part of the craziness is like the special effects at the end and just like the weird planet stuff. And it was a lot.
It's a movie, man.
Jonathan, what are some of your thoughts on this episode of What If?
Wait, we should definitely plug the cloaca shirt before we go on.
Absolutely.
How often does it come up?
Is that still out there? I thought that was gone.
Well, so okay, just a real quick aside here. Yes, some of the Sincast gear is still available on our web site for Teespring. So you can go to cinemasins.com and you can click on the merch and you can still find some Sincast merch. I'm not sure when it's going to be coming down, but if you want a cloaca shirt, now's the time to go grab it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go grab that.
Maybe we should do it. It has the Howard the Duck on there instead of the frog, because right now it's a frog. Sorry,
no.
Go on.
No, you're fine. I think I already said like this was. I'm pretty sure this is my least favorite episode. I mean, I will say though, now that we're talking about it, that the Black Panther one's not, or the Guardians of the Galaxy / Black Panther one was also really bad. That was the one Danae and I worked on, but this is in that conversation. This might be a little more entertaining than that one.
Yeah.
As far as the sins, you guys said a lot of them. I will say I did not know that's why we say cheese. That's right. That's why we say cheese.
To get a smile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never
so
heard
it's
that
like
before.
Cheese, and then you make the smiling
No, that
face.
makes sense.
So if you say like mozzarella and someone takes a picture, you just got the O face or whatever they said.
Yeah, I just never thought enough about it to look into it.
Like,
That makes perfect sense.
Say waffle.
Yeah.
And then this is the picture everyone
Well, I always take pictures behind this mic, so
That's true.
So nobody knows. Nobody knows.
True.
I can't. I'm Wilson for a reason. So yeah, that, and then the I think the one thing that hasn't been mentioned was imagine being so whiny that you'd rather see a flying cow over an alien species being beamed in from a dozen hovering spacecrafts. Imagine.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. And the sin as always is pineapple shirts. That was another one that caught my fancy.
As always. All right, let's move into CinemaSins. Danae going to stick around since she wrote on the first one of these as well. Because
help me.
We're going to talk about Bridesmaids, and Danae has some things to say. Danae and I wrote Bridesmaids. Well, we didn't write Bridesmaids, but we did write the Bridesmaids sin script.
You'd have done a far better job. My
Guess
goodness.
what epically long sequence in this movie I am not a fan of.
Oh, gee, I actually thought
wonder
about
if there's
that
one that triggers
scene.
Jonathan's.
Yeah, we should talk about that first so that you can like take your headphones off and then
I'm
have
good.
time to recover.
I've seen it. I'm fine.
I will also say, I guess I'll start on this one, but this has been waiting in the wings for a long time, which happens with videos sometimes. And in fact, our Sin Club members actually saw this video months ago.
Yeah, it popped up.
Yeah,
and then it went away.
Then it went
and
away.
Now it's back.
And now it's back. So in addition to seeing things a day early, sometimes you see them months early, as well as, by the way, ad-free podcasts. If you don't enjoy those, you can get all the podcasts without ads by being a member as well. So anyhow, this took forever to come out. And I think the main thing that we dealt with in this is just how interesting it is the way this movie portrayed women friendships, because it fell into so many traps, so many cliches, and yet it's comedy, right? So comedy almost has to play to cliche sometimes. But finding that balance of sinning those gender issues, sexuality issues, those kind of things, while at the same time giving it permission to, be a comedy, in a well-loved comedy, by the way. This is a well-loved and respected movie.
Yeah, huge hit.
Yeah.
So just trying to figure all that out. I also, the thing about the scene that triggers you, Jonathan, is the whole point of that scene seems, and we sin this, the whole point of that scene seems to be, guess what? Women are gross too. And it's they're humans too. What is, if you love it in other movies where men are gross, then sure, feel free to think it's hilarious here. But it's, it's not hilarious because it's women. If it's funny
but at
to
the
you.
same time, I love that part.
Yeah.
I feel like in movies and in content, it's oftentimes, maybe not all the time, but it's oftentimes that women are portrayed kind of more put together and cute and sort of presented in this pretty package. So to see women going really far on the spectrum, the pendulum has swung in the other direction, and we're seeing this scene where they're trashing a bathroom and one is in a sink and one is in a toilet and everything is happening. I was disturbed, as you should be, but also like, why am I disturbed on this other really strange part of my psyche where like I'm not supposed to be seeing women do this? And so it really pushed me into an area where I was like, oh my God, it's kind of fun to see these really fun actors do really interesting work outside of what is quote unquote normally accepted.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like the production of a movie like this and the purposefulness of like putting women into these roles and putting them into these scenes that are disturbing and they're over the line, but you usually see guys do it. So to have a moment where women do it, it really did make me think about like the creation of content, all that, and then go back in and try to figure out, did I actually enjoy it? And I didn't. I mean, it's dumb and it's stupid and it's silly. If that scene existed in a movie where they were all actually like really good friends and they were like laughing about it or whatever, I actually would love it even more. But that around the whole rest of the movie, it was just a bunch of kind of cliche things, these cliche moments between women, and then a couple of them that were actually could really have stood alone in a different film, and I would have appreciated it on a totally different level. But because there was so much cliche like cat fighting and just the stuff that this movie was doing that was really frustrating. I mean, they genuinely had a "hey woman, wake up, cook in the kitchen" moment in this one. And it just blows my mind. So it was a very strange experience.
That scene doesn't make any sense. I remember that scene pulling me out of the movie.
The thing about it is, it's not played for laughs like towards the guy. It's played for laughs towards the woman in that scene, which is really strange because what he is doing to her is terrible. In that
it's
scene,
really
like,
bad.
I'm going to bring up all your painful memories of this thing, and I'm going to make
casually.
you, and it's just like,
because I want a cake.
But we're supposed to think it's cute, and we're supposed to think it's like this,
and then forgive it with her later. Like she just kind of forgets about it when she gets in the car and she's talking to her friends. Like
she's blaming herself.
Forgets.
She blames herself for it. Yeah,
I should get over my emotional trauma and bake again for this person. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird one. Sorry to interrupt. I just
no. That's good.
That particular scene it really, to me, oddly, the horrible, disgusting scene highlighted what this movie could have done in really interesting ways with female leads, but it fell into some traps that I was really disappointed by.
And thus the Beck fail bonus round lives. It was beautiful, so very good. We kind of went around and round on that one, didn't we? Like what to include here, what don't we include here? We tried to be pretty fair with it. Yeah.
So interestingly enough, this movie taught me about that test because I knew about it, but I'd never really paid attention to it on like a practical level. I hadn't tried to apply it to something. I'd never done a study on it in a movie, but while watching this movie, I was triggered so many times on them just constantly bringing up other male characters. And I wasn't sure what was an official Bechdel, metric. So I wrote down a ton of things that we didn't end up even using because technically it didn't meet the requirements. But we had a lot of content to work with because, surprise, these females, these characters that were written by someone are constantly worried about other people other than themselves, and oftentimes males, and how they are being brought into the conversation that when they don't really need to be. And that's just another example of how it's so strange. But as a woman who has struggled with who my identity is based on who I'm dating or who I'm with, I'm like, where does this come from? And then you watch content where it's just constantly brought up. I'm like, well, that's where it comes from. I was taught to wonder and gauge my value based on who I'm with and what they like and blah, blah, blah. And so it's taken a lot of years to kind of break away from that. So when I see it in a movie, I get really pissed because I'm like, my kid has to go through this bullshit.
Yeah.
So let me give you a gauge, kiddo. Let's play a game called Your Worth is Not Actually in Someone Else's Opinion of You. And also, you can be individually yourself. And also, if you think the male's opinions and what they're doing has any gauge on how you are as a person or your value, we have to talk. Sorry.
No,
I apologize.
Well said.
I really didn't like this movie.
Except the part where they were all pooping.
That part I enjoyed.
The other thing I wanted to mention.
Sorry, Jonathan. That part I enjoyed.
The other thing I wanted to mention was both videos this week. We haven't gotten to the next one yet. Written months and months apart, have almost identical bra sins in them, which just blew my mind watching that this week. There's a bra sin here about, how in movies, oftentimes women leave their bras on during sex, which we know is probably for rating reasons or nudity clauses or whatever.
No, I mean, usually that's not something that stays on,
right.
Unless you're in a
hurry.
hurry.
It's like the least comfortable piece of clothing to keep on.
Well, and I feel like there's ways to shoot around that too. Like you could
Yeah.
use a sheet, or you can shoot from the neck. There's ways around that.
Not do what they wanted to do in these scenes, probably because they wanted the long shots of the ridiculousness and that kind of stuff.
God, the opening scene of this movie.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my God.
That does remind me, I really enjoyed, Danae, the sin for every rotation of the breast. When
we cut it.
Oh, we cut that one?
So I think we had to cut that one, right? Because so
I don't remember that
there
one.
was some stuff that was like we had to cut out because it got dinged for being inappropriate.
Yeah, advertising things or whatever, and that was one of them. That was hilarious. I'm sorry you didn't get to see that.
There's a moment in the opening sequence where they're having this series of awkward sex positions, and he just kind of like takes her breast and just tweaks it back and forth, and
he just rotates it, just like
Oh yeah.
He just goes like this.
This really sort of like wax on, wax off style.
Yeah.
And every single time it does a full rotation, I send it because it's just like
the sin just dings. Ding, ding, ding.
Wow, that's funny.
That's amazing.
I wish we could do is I wish we could cut that footage and just like put it somewhere because that really was funny.
We could put that up for our members. We
I
absolutely
think that
could.
was on the one that people saw a few months ago, though.
Yeah, so if you did see the original Bridesmaid on our Sin Club, then you did see that sin.
Maybe. I'm not sure of that, but maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah. We'd have to find it, and I'm not sure if we keep old versions. So yeah, I'm not guaranteeing anything.
If it's
but
that'd be so great.
We would absolutely love to do that. So anyhow, I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to say. Danae, did you have anything else? You've kind of been in and out of the conversation. So
I enjoyed many of the specific, things that we went at in this. I really am proud of this one because it was one where I really was hating on it a lot as I was watching it, which you guys know I struggle with wanting to write whenever I'm genuinely having a terrible time.
Yeah, this was one I remember early on. You were like,
struggle.
I'm out. Like I can't. Yeah.
Isn't it like 2.5 hours or something?
It's just so bad. And like, I just feel like saying the same thing over and over and over again. And that gets really difficult when you're writing. But there's a couple in particular that I was really proud of. And one of them was that there's a sin. It's like they have their intestinal situation. And then like in the next scene, she's like about to have sex with her boyfriend. And it's just like, who in their right mind would go through the torture that they've just been through and been like, you know what? I really want to be intimate. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around.
No.
And so writing a sin about that was really delightful. And also just like all that fucking work for one cupcake, whatever.
Yeah.
Just whatever.
Yeah.
Movie is stupid. I would never recommend watching it to anyone.
Jonathan, what about you?
I don't think I've seen this since I saw it in the theater. Maybe I've seen it like one other time because my wife, I think, enjoyed it for the most part. She actually went and saw this with me because she was really excited about it. And I love this cast. And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Paul Feig. Is it Paul Feig? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think it's Feig. But
yeah, I think it's. But I really the two movies he did after this, The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, and Spy, also with Melissa McCarthy. I think both of those movies are two of the best comedies, like of the past like decade or whatever, or whatever decade they're in. But this, I just remember being too long, and like it had funny moments, but I don't know, it didn't really work for me. I do think that more movies should end on previously famous pop stars singing their hit songs. I wish that was a thing, like in every movie, because that would excite me. Because like
they're not even facing the audience.
But actually, one of my funniest moments though is Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph lip syncing. And looking at each other and kind of doing that, like with their shoulders.
Oh my God.
And stuff.
The chemistry between these actors is so fun to watch.
Well, I think they're really good friends in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell.
There's like even just when they're in the cafe talking, even though they're talking about bullshit that I don't want to hear them talk about, I like watching the two of them interact.
Exactly. And I think that's, if anything works in this movie, I think it's that. But the movie itself is kind of forgetful. Gosh. Yeah. I love the murder mystery wedding scene just because that sounds awesome. And I wish I had thought of that.
More on that to come.
I had a feeling.
My wife wouldn't have let me do that, but God, that sounds so awesome. I'm still trying to get her to go on a murder mystery cruise. I think that would be a blast, but she's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
That's like you know what? It makes sense because you like Agatha Christie. Like you would actually be able to, or like doing it on a train, just like the Agatha Christie book. That'd be so fucking cool.
It would be.
Of course, you'd know the answers if it was based on Agatha Christie.
This picture beside your bed. I just thought that whatever that Easter bunny picture was, or whatever.
What was that?
I liked when Melissa McCarthy said she had 2 puppies in the van, and said they died of heat exhaustion. But sure, there were technically 2 puppies in the van.
Oh, it's so dark.
And then the last one I'll mention is your windshield is disgusting. Is that hard to wash it with your tears? I thought that was really funny.
Nice.
No, it was a great video. It was awesome.
Ian?
Yeah, I watched this. This came out when I was 21 and not the sort of film I'd go and watch at all. But for some reason, all of my friends, it just got some word of mouth, and stupid 21-year-old friends were like, this is the most funny thing that's ever come out ever. It's hilarious. It's got women in it. And that was enough to make it hilarious for them. And I went to see it and I hated it. I despised it so much. And I haven't seen it since. If anything, this made me dislike it even more. I couldn't even get the chemistry between them when I was 21. I can't get it now through the Sins video, and I'm not going to give it another chance. So it seems to the Judd Apatow sin really hit me because I was like, how is this not a Judd Apatow film? It's got all. Well, I mean,
he produced it, right?
Oh, really? Oh, okay, that makes sense. did he?
I think that I think this is 100% a Judd Apatow film. I mean, he didn't direct it, but he produced it.
It's got that stink all over it.
Well, it's 2.5 hours. That's Judd Apatow.
It's damn long. But The Sins, on the other hand, I thoroughly enjoyed. So I now have a reason to enjoy Bridesmaids. That's the beauty
Nice.
of CinemaSins is that's put some happy funk on it. Boys are sticky semen squirting germ-infested rank creatures that should be shamed into bathing cliche. I love it. That was great. Because we are. That's exactly what we are. I love that we get a little, it's almost like a little origin story of the college girlfriend sin. It's like everybody always laughs at that, but I'm not joking. And the narrator says, yeah, everyone keeps saying that about my college girlfriend sins. And I love that everyone that's played for a joke is actually a true story.
Right,
Actually,
yeah.
Stop laughing at me. I wasn't joking. That shit happened.
Yes.
Brilliant. And the dog is a party gift. I know it's one of those moments that is so ridiculous. The movie knows it's ridiculous, but you can't let it go by. You can't not acknowledge it and say, no, this is a dumbass idea, even if you're trying to be absurd. But yeah, no, happy to see Bridesmaids taken down several notches.
Nice.
And real quick, I forgot. I was just looking up to make sure I was right about Judd Apatow producing, but and he was. But Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo wrote this, which is just interesting.
Isn't that disappointing?
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, so you should, if you haven't seen Barb and Star, you should definitely go watch that instead of watching this again.
Yeah, Barb and Star is great.
is so much fun.
Yeah.
But between Bridesmaids, Wonder Woman 1984, and Ghostbusters, what is wrong with Kristen Wiig? Why does she keep
I don't really like that Ghostbusters movie, but I think Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy are funny in that movie. I just don't really. I don't know. The movie doesn't work for me always, but if there are good moments, it's a lot of it has to do with them. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah. All right, let's move into bye Danae. Bye. Thank you for jumping in. It's always good to see you.
I do have a keeping tab, so I'll send it to you, Aaron, and you can do my keeping tab.
We can do keeping tabs and then scream. And then...
Oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Hey, let's just do Beyond the Sins first. Oh no, poor Aaron.
Guys, there's an order to things.
I'll see you guys later.
All right. Bye, Janae.
Bye.
Scream 4 is what we're going to talk about. This is a Weewa script. Jonathan and Ian writing on this one. So yeah, guys, what did you think of Scream 4? Best Scream movie in the franchise by far, right? Jonathan, why don't you start?
I'm sorry, you shocked me. No, I'm kidding.
Jonathan is not recovered.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna try not to just go off on crazy, but I love Scream, the original Scream, for many reasons. It got me. I don't know that I was ever out of horror, but as far as like mainstream theatrical horror, I wasn't really. Like, I was more or less at that point in the mid-90s just kind of watching older stuff. If I watched anything, I wasn't getting excited about like new horror releases. And Scream kind of brought me back, and like it did a lot of people, or turned a lot of younger people into horror fans, I think. And I think, interestingly enough, 25 years later is what we're at now. It would turn 25 this past December. I think it's even better now. Like, not only does it hold up, but I think it's better. Like, it's gone from I really enjoyed that and had a lot of fun and I'm glad to be enjoying horror movies again to this is one of my all-time favorite movies. This is one of my favorite horror movies. I think it might actually have the greatest opening sequence in movie history. I think it's at least in that conversation. I'd have to think about that longer, but it's in that conversation. Like, if you were like, what's your favorite opening? The Drew Barrymore opening would come to mind immediately.
Absolutely.
As far as the sequels go, nowhere near as good as the first one. I do like Scream 2. I don't like Scream 3. I know Scream 3 has gotten kind of a reevaluation. I'm sorry I can't join you. I wish I could. I just watched that a couple years ago when we send it. And did not like that. I think this one's okay for the most part. I remember seeing this in the theater. I thought it was okay. I had problems with it. I've seen it a couple times since then, and then obviously I just watched it again. My opinion hasn't really changed. There are definitely things about this I like. But there's a lot of, but it's messy. And I don't think it quite says what it wants to in an interesting way. Like, I get what it's trying to do, but it's not able to do what Scream did, right? It's not able to play that line of like metatextual kind of poking fun. That's the one thing about Scream I find interesting. A lot of people say it's making fun of horror movies. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's a movie that's absolutely 100% in love with the horror genre. And I think it's showing that by kind of playing around with all the different cliches and,
right.
What do you call it? I don't know,
Tropes.
stereotypes, whatever. Thank you, tropes. And then is able to actually become a very good version of what it's doing, what it's trying to be. The sequels have never really been able to play that line as well. And I think it shows really in the third one, but I think it also shows a little bit in this one. Also, and a lot of the stuff that we send, I actually remember thinking when I was watching it, like the killer's identities. I mean, it's fine. Like, I totally get the Emma Roberts thing. And I totally get they're going for they're kind of doing their own version of the original. But I don't get that Ghostface, more so in the other movies, he looks like he's 7 feet tall. And then it's supposed to be like these two kids that are like, because like when Emma Roberts comes out of that closet, it doesn't even like the robe doesn't fit her. Like, it's so big on her.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Rory Culkin, I assume it's supposed to be him, is getting like kicked in the face by like, Neve Campbell in like her boots or whatever. And then we see him 2 seconds later. He's got no bruises. I mean, his face looks perfectly fine. It's like you just took a kick your nose would be broken. At the very least, your nose would be dislocated or something. So stuff like that was really easy to send. And then Ian tackled a lot of the cliche stuff really well. That I think it goes a little too far with the cliches, and then isn't able to really make an interesting statement about why it's doing that. The opening is insane.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Like it's way too much. And if you watch the original opening, they have the original opening on YouTube. Which is interesting because they don't have the score to it, so it's kind of creepy because you just hear like stabbing and stuff, but there's no music, there's nothing to and it's kind of similar in the sense that the two actual people that are living in Woodsboro, the two teenage characters that get killed, Amy Teagarden and I can't think of her name. She's in Tomorrowland with George Clooney, Britt something, I think. They're watching, I think, a stab movie. And then they play pranks, they play jokes on each other, and then Ghostface actually shows up and kills them. But you don't get any of the movie within a movie nonsense that we actually ended up getting. And I wish they had stuck more to that because I think that would have played better. Also, like Neve Campbell, I don't know. The characters don't feel necessarily like they do in the previous films as much. It's maybe a little better than they did in 3, but I don't know. There's just some things about this don't work, but it's still very watchable, which is more than you can say for Scream 3. And Hayden Panettiere, I was so glad we got to keep my send off for her because
she's great.
She's amazing.
I love her.
And she's had a hell of a career. I mean, she's had hit TV shows and all kinds of stuff, but this always makes me wish she did, like, there's more movies with her being able to do stuff like this. I will say, though, she didn't look like a high school student. She looked like, there's that scene where she's got like a rock glass with like gin and tonic in it or something. She looks like she just got off like a 9-to-5 shift at an accounting firm or something. And we're supposed to believe she's like a junior in high school.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it was really easy to send, but also it was really fun to just go back and watch it. I'm really excited about the new one. It's getting good word of mouth. I'm going to see it tonight because it's Thursday.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah. I also like taking a send off for the Ghostface voice because that's one thing about this franchise I don't think it's talked about enough. I love that voice. I think that voice work is what makes him a lot more scary than he probably would be otherwise. Just saying stuff like, "Do I sound like a Trevor?" And I don't know. Yeah. It's just it says stuff like that. And it sounds so
like
creepy.
a Trevor.
And I'm so glad they've kept Roger Jackson in every movie, including the new one, because I think without him it doesn't work. But yeah, that's really all I have to say, I think. Sorry if I went on too long. I love talking about this franchise. So
no, its passion is good, man. Ian, what about you? What were some of your thoughts watching this? Had you seen it before?
Oh,
so the baffling thing, and this shocks everybody when I tell them, this is insane. This is the first Scream movie that I've seen.
Oh, that is not okay. That is so not okay.
But when he told me that,
I know.
When he told me that, though, I was kind of like, "How interesting, though. Like, how does this play?"
But now, how do you watch the first one? Like, that's tough. That's really tough because the first one really is good. Like, it's
so good.
It changed so much. It's very similar to Shaun of the Dead, right? Like where it's kind of sending up something that it also obviously loves and is also that thing itself. But oh man, that breaks my heart in some ways. Yeah. Anyhow, continue, Ian. That just broke my heart a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a result, I went on a journey because, of course, I'm aware of what Scream is and how influential the first film is and exactly what it was trying to do. And I did really, when I saw that Scream 4 was on my schedule, I really had every intention of watching the other three because it was around. It was in December November or December when we were writing this. December, definitely, yeah. But I just didn't have enough time because I wrote this as part of like a jet-lagged, exhausted soup of, man, I have like exhausted, but I have to write this script. And I just didn't have time to watch the other movies. So I was like, I'm just going to get through it. So between that and just it not being a good movie was tricky. My biggest problem is that I couldn't tell what was a cliche that they were leaning on and what was a cliche that they were parodying. So the film obviously wants to parody stuff like Saw and just the horror genre in general and to keep itself current, even though it itself is 10 years removed, which in itself is a cliche and something that it's trying to send up, but it just doesn't land. It doesn't do it. The perfect sin that summed it up for me was that it thinks using all of these cliches excuses it from using the cliches or just acknowledging them and saying, hey, look at all of this. Like there's a time when they're getting ready to do a stab marathon and they're shouting out all of the cliches. All things that they have done in this film, but not far enough removed that they're just leaning on it. They're not I don't know what the commentary was meant to be here. So, yeah, disappointing overall. I will watch Scream 1, and I've heard that Scream 2 is worth at least consideration as well.
It's worth watching. I mean, you might want to watch Scream 3. I mean, Scream 3 is... I mean, you're probably not going to hate yourself for watching it, but it's not necessary.
Yeah. And I'm going to see Scream 5 on Friday, so I will have watched Scream 4 and the new Scream before I've had a chance to watch anything else. So...
But you should at least watch the first.
You should at least watch the first one.
I can count the amount of hours that I have between now and then.
Well, that's true. You're 6 hours ahead of us.
They are taken right now.
But like that's what I'm trying to say. The first Scream does an insanely better job of what you're complaining about in this one.
I'm sure it does. Yeah, I totally buy it. So yeah, I'm kind of proud that I've had this arse backwards route into Scream, and this will always be my history of Scream, that I had to see the fourth one before I'd seen anything else. The matching wounds reveal at the end, really, there's so many inconsistencies that really pissed me off in this film, and Chris reviewed it, and most of his comments were, fuck yeah! What is this shit? I'm so glad you, like, the script had 30 comments, and I was like, oh, we screwed the pooch on this one. Like, we did a bad job. But 27 of them were that, get it, guys, you nailed that. Yeah, that's exactly my issue with the film. But yeah, the revelation when Doofy Dewey, Donkey Stewart, dumbass
Dewey,
sheriff, him, goes to Monica from Friends. And, oh my God, like,
Gail Weathers,
you've got matching wounds. And she's like, but how did she know it's matching? I was like, well, just you both got stabbed. Like, that doesn't mean geographically you both have the same wounds. So it's stuff like that it leans on.
How great of a name is Gail Weathers? Well,
Gail Weathers, really?
Yeah, it's so good.
It's not.
I want them to actually, because sometimes they'll do this. Like, remember Lost? Like, they released whatever book they were talking about in the show. Like, somebody actually wrote that book. Like, I want somebody to write the Woodsboro Murders. Like, I want that to be like a book, Woodsboro Murders by Gail Weathers.
I remember the Dharma Initiative had a website, and that phone number that they sent took you somewhere. It was it was good stuff. Much better than this film.
Let's just talk about Lost.
Let's just talk about Lost instead. I'd love it. I don't understand why everyone thinks that Sydney is cursed. Like, genuinely, like, the characters themselves. Like, no, she's been through a hideous trauma.
Yeah.
Do they genuinely think that she's A, in on it, or B, cursed?
And
like,
they keep saying that stuff, too. Like, they compare her to, like, Jeffrey
Angel
Dahmer
of Death and whatever.
And, like, actresses. And it's like, no, she's an actual victim of murder. Like, she's all her friends have been murdered several times.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a horrible, horrible thing. And you're only saying that because you're in a movie.
The fact that she was able to, like, keep it together to write a book and go to appearances is amazing. Like, we should be celebrating that.
Exactly.
I would be in a cabin in the woods. You would never see me again.
Away completely. And just the outtake at the end where what's her name from American Horror Story stabs herself in the shoulder, saying, "No, Kelly Clarkson," was so good.
I like how you're just naming people from other things.
That's what we do.
It is. It's a very Jeremy thing.
I can't remember Emma Roberts' name in the movie all of a sudden, though. It's Emma Roberts, but her name escapes me.
So yeah, that was those are my thoughts. It will always be backwards for me.
I watched Scream 4.
Sorry, Jill was her name. Go ahead.
Jill, nice. Well done.
I watched Scream 4 at one point in my life and didn't think another second about it again until now. Like it just was so bad at everything that the original Scream was so good at. But watching this brought it back, and it's not great. So I will focus on the sins that I loved. Plant scares, the new cat scares with 100% more stupidity. Plants are not included. You must provide your own plant. Very nice. The exploration of why the narrator isn't feeling anything at the reveal is really fun. Wait, why don't I feel anything? I was supposed to feel something. And then he's like, okay, let's have a look here. Swelling music, check. Dramatic mask reveal, check. Giving a single F who the killer is. Oh, like, you just like, so beautiful. Great way to say that. And then had to give a huge shout out and thank you to whoever decided to write the absolutely elaborate and beautiful and 100% correct begging the question sin. Thank you for that from all of us who don't like when language changes.
That is in my keeping tabs.
Okay,
and actually,
fair enough.
I wasn't sure because like Chris has, I know, mentioned that before because
I was sweating.
I might have written it wrong in it. I can't remember. It was wrong in a context. I feel like I wrote it too, and Chris was saying something to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Mm-hmm. And then I read you wrote that, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like, is Ian just kissing Chris's ass? I'm not sure what's going on here." But
that was a huge part of it. We'll get to it in keeping tabs.
I'm just kidding. Okay, cool.
Well,
but no, yeah, I love that as well.
Let's wait no further. Let's get into keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to take a look at something else from the process of putting together the week's content, a weird Google search, a deleted sin, maybe why we're questioning begging the question. That begs the question, Ian. Why did you write that
It doesn't,
sin?
though.
No, it
Yeah,
does not actually beg that question.
It doesn't actually beg
This
the
kind
question.
of blows my mind because it's crazy how many people are using this wrong. I used it wrong forever.
Daily.
Well,
Same
But I
here.
and here's
can't say
the
I
thing.
said it often. But
Here's the thing. It now means that. And that's what's
It
so...
may as well.
that's irritating.
That's what's so irritating about language, but also so beautiful about language is it changes. And yeah.
Yeah. So
it literally
this,
changes.
this literally, figuratively as well. So this dates back. I can't remember what script it was, but I wrote a sin, and he said, "Well, if this happens, then doesn't that beg the question? Why didn't this happen?" And Chris, I could tell in the tone of Chris's message, he didn't want to say this. It may as well have started with, "I know I'm being an arsehole here, but." And it was basically saying that, like, yeah, begging the question essentially means that now. But when I write a sin, I like to use the actual version of begging the question. And what pissed me off is that I know that. And I kicked myself for using begging the question because it's annoyed me before as well. But in a haze of sin writing, it slipped out. So deleted the sin, cut it.
I've actually, in other sin scripts, I know I've done this with other writers, I've asked permission to use brings the question instead of begging the question.
Exactly.
Because that's more appropriate in my mind.
I don't think we cut it. I think we did just rephrase it to, well, doesn't that make you think? Or something like that. So when an actual begging the question fallacy comes up at the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is me. And that is by far, I think I spent more time wording that and revisiting that than I did the rest of the script combined. Because first of all, you have to get to the place of, is it begging the question? And then making it funny. And the only way I could make it funny was by saying, I'm sorry, you're going to have to re-listen to this 15 times before it makes sense. Because that's half as many times as I had to rewrite it. And I have never sweated more than when that went off to review. And I was like, nah, I fucked it up. I've done something wrong. And Chris's comment was just, nice. yes, I did it. I got begging the question right. But for anyone that's still confused, the begging the question is, the fallacy of begging the question occurs when an argument's premise assumes the truth of the conclusion. And one of the top examples here is believing that everything in the Bible is word for word correct because something in the Bible says that the Bible is correct. So it's proving a point with its own point. And it's a hard bit of logic to get yourself out of.
You're almost better off saying, it's almost clearer to say, assuming the answer, you know?
Correct.
Because that's really more what it means. To beg the question means to assume the answer.
Is this when they're having that conversation about the Stab movies and she's like...
Yeah, it's the fact that if the start of Stab 7 is the start of Stab 6, doesn't that mean the start of Stab 6 is Stab 5? And it's like, no, just because one thing is true doesn't mean the rest of it is true.
Yeah.
So yeah, loads of fun, super satisfying. I'm begging to leave.
All right, I mentioned mine as well, so I'll go next. The true story had a friend who told his fiancée he wanted a murder mystery wedding, where right before the announcement of the couple, the lights would go out and the bride would be dead when they came back on, and the reception would be figuring out which of the bridal party actually killed her. She married him anyway, but with a normal wedding. And honestly, the sin is for the fact that I was supposed to play the detective and that was stolen from me. So, true. It is a true story. My wife asked me if I had any ideas for our wedding. And I said, I've always thought it would be cool to do a murder mystery wedding where, and described kind of this thing happened. And she just kind of looked at me and she was like, okay, that's not happening. And also, I'm not asking you about the wedding anymore. I was like, all right, fair enough.
That's better. Meredith probably would have just left me. She'd be like, oh, okay.
Well, that sounds like,
we're not getting married.
Thank you for putting up with my wild answers. And in another universe, it is quite possible that Jeremy would have played the detective in that murder mystery wedding. And so it's interesting to put this in his mouth from his perspective of a story that I actually lived through. So yeah,
I've written a few murder mystery parties, and we used to do them in college. This group of us would do them, and they're so much fun. That sounds like a blast. But yeah,
it sounds fun.
Yeah,
until you start dealing with all of the buildup and perceptions that so many people have about what their weddings will look like, what they will be.
Yeah,
and
it just sounds interesting. I don't think it would work because, and plus,
it's
like,
a stressful day enough.
It's a stressful
Let's not add an actual event to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And people learning lines and like, like all that kind of stuff. The fact that the bride would be dead during the reception, probably need to deal with that.
Yeah, not actually part of it.
Yeah, playing the dead body in a murder mystery party is not that fun.
At the reception, the bride is just in a casket for the reception. No.
And the pictures 30 years later just don't make sense because you forgot it was a murder mystery.
I will say to everyone in the, because there were a lot of people in the comments of the Bridesmaids videos asking about this, saying how much fun it sounds like. Really appreciate that. It's kind of fun. I did have one from somebody who said, my wedding was pretty much a carnival. Came in on a camel in a black dress with a magician officiant and a turtle ring bearer. There was a world famous whistler, a petting zoo, a giant pizza, and 2/3 of Tenacious D.
Were they
jealous.
redoing
which 2/3?
Were they doing like a Prince Ali thing or something? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I assume all of that is just a joke, which it's a great joke. It's hilarious.
Oh man!
If it's also true, that is next level.
Unreal,
so amazing stuff. It was also the only thing I wanted to mention about this, because it's really interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense because it's a movie about a wedding, but there was a second story in there about a talent show before a wedding that was also a true story. And that was from Danae, wrote that one. And interestingly enough, we both were at that talent show.
Amazing.
So we both experienced that. Was it Someone Like You that they sang? Just this awkward thing where somebody's up singing like, I wish I was married to you at like the day before this person gets married. Like it was so like, it was cringe. It was one of the most.
They did like a talent show, so just anybody in the wedding party or family that wanted to be a part of it could.
Jen and I, my wife and I, got up and sang A Whole New World.
Oh God!
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are lovely.
Very.
Disgust. Just the disgust.
Exploded from me. Oh, fuck
Listen,
you,
we
people.
killed it, Ian. We killed it, Ian. It was great.
Sure
it
you
didn't
did.
happen.
I'm sure it was
Was
beautiful.
there a juggler or?
I don't remember a juggler. No, I don't remember that.
That would have been me because I wouldn't have had anyone to love. Just sat in the background juggling. Didn't even go on stage for it. I just stood there juggling.
You are perfectly whole, just yourself, Ian.
I know that.
Okay.
Fuck you.
All right. Jonathan, what about you? What's your keeping tab?
Mine's pretty quick, and I just there was a couple reasons why I couldn't do this. I was thinking about doing, because like there's a moment in Scream 4 where Kirby, the Hayden Panettiere character, is on the phone and thinks that Rory Culkin's about to get killed if she doesn't answer these questions, and it's a callback obviously to the opening of the original film. And then there's a question it starts off, it's something like the Ghostface says something like, this remake of a horror classic, and then the character just starts naming off remakes from the like the decade, like the 2000 to when this movie was released. And I knew like there's no way she names them all because it's insane how many remakes there were, even after 2011. But between 2000 and 2011, it's just insane. Like that's what horror became. It was just everybody was trying to remake something. So I was going to do a Sin where I listed all these, and I took the time to look them up. And then afterwards, I realized I couldn't do it because there's no way we could play the whole thing. Like we couldn't play all of what she says because there's reasons behind it, but we basically have a lead in like where we won't go over a certain amount of time. And for the most part, and I was going to kill that by a lot because she just names off, because I'll tell you what she names, and she's so good in this moment. Like it's a really fun moment, but at the same time, what we ended up sending, I think was perfect, that it's like, but why wouldn't she wait till he was done with the question? Like it didn't make any sense what she would.
Why cut him off?
Yeah, she thought her friend was about to get killed. But anyway, so she says Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror, Last House on the Left, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, My Bloody Valentine, When a Stranger Calls, Prom Night, Black Christmas, House of Wax, The Fog, and Piranha. So I went back and looked up what she left out. So just to show you how insane this trend was between 2000 and 2011. She left out Black Christmas, The Hitcher, Sorority Row, Funny Games, The Ring, A Tale of Two Sisters, Shudder, Dark Water, The Grudge, 13 Ghosts, The Eye, April Fool's Day, The Omen, One Missed Call, Children of the Corn, Willard, Toolbox Murders, It's Alive, The Stepfather, The Wolfman, and The Wicker Man.
Wow.
So,
and they're just remakes?
It's amazing.
Yeah, those are all remakes. Some of them, I mean, I included like J-horror remakes, which I still think counts because they're definitely remakes. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we were just remaking. I mean, that's what horror became like around when Platinum Dunes came in and did like Amityville Horror, whatever it was they did first.
Yeah.
And then everybody was like, yeah, what IP can we grab? And they're still doing it. Like that hasn't stopped. We just had another Black Christmas remake, fairly recently. There's going to be a Hellraiser remake this year, and I think there's something else too that's being Salem's Lot and Firestarter. Like that's 3 that are just coming out this year, I believe. Wow. So I don't know. It's interesting.
There an Exorcist sequel coming? Or is it Poltergeist?
There is an Exorcist sequel coming, but it's actually a sequel. It's not a.
It's actually a sequel.
It's not a remake. They did do a Poltergeist remake, 2015, but that was after Scream 4. So there were so many after Scream 4 that I had to go back and take off because I was like, oh yeah, wait, I'm not getting the years right. So then I had to go back, and then after all that, I was like, well, I can't do this because we can't play this lead in. So it's like,
oh no, it's the worst. Oh,
like why did I just spend like 30 minutes doing all this work? But so I could talk about it on Keeping Tab.
Oh, yes. That's the place for it.
All right, let's move into the comments section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to pick a comment from last week's content from the various places that you reach out to us. Discord, YouTube, Reddit, the Sin Club at Patreon, wherever it might be. Ian, why don't you go first? What's your comment this week?
So yeah, I've got some nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers.
Yes, we need like a theme song for this or something.
We do.
Nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers. They're just 3. We are the nitpickers. They are nitpicking the nitpickers, and now we are nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers.
You never know. Nitpicking theme song might happen at some point. You never
might
know.
happen.
Yeah, who knows? Let's get some requests for something really obscure.
Just some fan who's really good at putting together simple stingers. Yeah,
He doesn't want any money.
So yes, just love and affection, and maybe neither of those things. So we're gonna start with one that I know is green, and I know I got it wrong, and blah blah blah. Hawkeye belongs in the Avengers. Whatever. Thor got killed by the arrow, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's the fact that there isn't an actual Infinity Gauntlet in the bottom of Odin's basement or whatever it is. So in the What If Thor episode, I sinned the fact that, wow, you're just going to keep the Infinity Gauntlet down here with all of the stones in it. That doesn't make any sense. And if I'd have done 5 seconds of research, I would have known that was stupid.
Not just you, Ian. There are many people that look over these things. This is a thing, like, know, it's when a mistake gets through, when something gets through that if we could have figured out, it's not just on one person's shoulders. So, yeah.
And I will say it might sound obvious, but there isn't an in-universe explanation for why it's down there. Other than Healer saying, oh, it's fake, and tosses it to one side. We still don't know why it's there. Kevin Feige, whatever, has had to say, oh, yeah, no, it is weird. And the reason that Odin put it down there is so that the people of Asgard know where it is and they aren't worried about it being used against them.
All of this is retcon, right?
Of course it's retcon.
Yeah,
it's in
all
an
of this is
interview
retcon.
that's like way, way later. So I almost forgive myself for it. But yes, that is an absolute green. That was pointed out by a few people.
The other thing I would mention about that is we are in a different universe as well. So maybe in that universe, the Infinity Gauntlet is real. Like, you don't know. Yeah. Is there air?
Is there oxygen? You don't know. Do I breathe backwards? What else did we have? So, this relationship between Thor and Loki makes sense because the universe corrected their biggest beef, the throne. With Loki having never been taken to Asgard, Thor inherits the throne like he's supposed to, and so has no reason to have a love-hate relationship. So they each have their own throne. So that's why they now get along. Because I sinned the fact that, well, they shouldn't be friends, they shouldn't know each other, they shouldn't be getting along at all.
Well, I mean, maybe it addresses the getting along part, but the other stuff is still
It still doesn't explain why he's
And
present.
for me, it's still, why is he in it? I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, what if, like, you're supposed to be changing things, but you're still bringing back the same people that were in the Thor world, you're just putting them in different situations. But I just don't even have them in there. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
And unless I'm remembering correctly, the Frost Giants and the Asgardians aren't best buddies. They have like an uneasy alliance, but they've been at war. So why would a Frost Giant be friends with an Asgardian anyway? It's, for me, that's an amber to a red.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's a fun conversation for somebody to get mad about. Why are Frost Giants and Asgardians?
Let them be friends.
Because they're
Let them
not.
get along. In Hawkeye, the opening credits, we've got an animation of Kate training, and there's a fencing, and then there is a spray of cartoon fluid of some sort. Now, someone in the comments said that the fencing thing actually makes sense. In training and competitive fencing, they often have a breakable tip to not only show that they are stuck, but also where it was stuck, because you get different points.
Sure.
So they're saying that there's fake blood loaded into the tip of
fake
the sword.
blood. It's not their blood.
Or fake pain. I said, if you're telling me that the creators of Hawkeye that animated the intro were thinking that, man, that is a leap. So strictly true, but I think that's giving a lot of credit.
I'm trying not to take it too personally, but that seems like a stretch. I'd have to go red on that. Red is the blood that should not be there.
I thought you were about to say people can actually get stabbed. I'm like, well, I'm never fencing. Not that I was going to. Like,
yeah, I'm not doing that.
Randomly pick that up next week.
Unless you're fencing in Die Another Day, in which case, yes, you can get all kinds of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's it.
Nice. Nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers. Love it. Jonathan, what about you?
I honestly don't even remember. I mean, I guess we had a weekend at Bernie's or something, but I just thought this was really funny when I was going through the comments. And also the name of the commenter, I am going to say it's Shaggy Nuts, which I thought was great. This is for Hawkeye. Nice. And they just simply put, I think Weekend at Bernie's started on a Thursday. And
I know exactly where that comes from.
Was so funny.
It's part of the is this a Christmas film debate.
Mm-hmm.
And then the narrator ends with, well, you wouldn't say that's a Thursday film. And somebody comes up with a Thursday film example, which is incredible.
It was like one of the first
Hey, let's do a Thursdays movie marathon. Yeah.
Yes. It's just Weekend at Bernie's.
That was quick. I want to say one more because I thought this was fascinating. Christopher Scott, I'll give him credit because I thought this was great. Said about Hawkeye. It's kind of weird how they still thank Hawkeye for saving the city like more than a decade ago. It's way more recent and relevant to say thanks for bringing half the universe back. That is a very good point, and I wish we had written that. That was I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I wanted to mention Iconic Blue in the Bridesmaids video says, quotes one of the sins, which says, aren't all of these women beautiful? And then responds with, yes, they are. And thank you for saying it. And I wanted to mention it because if you open up that comment, there are lots of replies. And among the common mistakes that I think is happening in the conversation there, because some people are like, nope, no, some people are more beautiful than others, or some people are more, handsome than other people or whatever. I think there's a definition issue going on here with the word beautiful versus the idea of attractiveness. And attractiveness is this individual thing. And yes, there are cultural standards of attraction, which is a whole nother conversation about whether those should be considered legit or not legit or whatever. But all of the way we are attracted to humans, like in a physical way or a desire way, is different than what I think the sin is talking about with beauty. And I think all humans are beautiful, but not necessarily internally or externally attractive to certain individuals. Yeah, it's just an interesting conversation when you kind of start to get into the weeds of the idea of physical appearance and what makes somebody physically beautiful. I personally have come to the place where I find all humans physically beautiful, not necessarily physically attractive to me personally, but beautiful nonetheless.
I'd like to think most people, like with age, that just kind of comes. Like I think so. I hope so, because
I think so. And I found myself as I've gotten older, really, and I've always been this to an extent, but even more as I get older, really leaning on attraction is such an internal thing for me. It's such about being attracted to the spirit of the person, who the person is, the choices they make, the things they believe, like those things I find much more, fascinating than necessarily the shape of a nose or, whatever it might be. So, yeah. Before we finish off keeping tabs, Danae mentioned she had some keeping tabs that she was going to send me, and she did. The first one is so Danae. She literally sent me a message that says, "I don't know why this is in my keeping tabs folder for this movie." And it is just a chapter of the book Walden by Henry David Thoreau. It's a link to an entire chapter of a Thoreau novel.
And she just doesn't remember?
She has no idea.
What was Danae thinking? That's amazing. What was she thinking?
That is, I mean, listen, in the moment, it was something. I don't know. But then she also did send me, she did research on how long it takes to get from Wyoming to Wisconsin. And so she had researched, travel via bus and public transit and then car, because that's how it happened in the movie when she had to get back
it's
without
where they
everybody
landed
else.
The plane or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, the answer to that was approximately 4 hours, as long as there are no delays and it's nonstop. Anyhow, wanted to pass that along from Danae as well. Well, there you go. Let's move into Beyond the Sins.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we have seen recently. I'll go first. I rewatched a movie from 2013 that I recommended highly, highly, highly that year, and has since, kind of disappeared. And I understand, because it's not one a lot of people have heard of. It's a documentary done by Penn and Teller, and they did a documentary on one of their friends who was exploring how a certain 1500s painter was able to capture life and light and realism in the way they did. That was Vermeer is the name of the painter, and the name of the movie is Tim's Vermeer. Tim is their friend, and the idea for this documentary is that he thinks he figured out how Vermeer did this and is going to replicate it using tools that were available in the time, and paints his own Vermeer using this way, and the results are I'll just say, if nothing else, compelling. So this is one of the most interesting documentaries I've ever seen. I will say it appeals to a lot of things in me that maybe aren't the same as everybody. There's a real scientific exploration, invention aspect to what's going on here. There's a real discovery. Like, if you're into the sciences, if you're into the process of discovery, the process of curiosity, how things work, how things are done, you're going to love this. If you just want to see an interesting documentary about somebody trying to paint a cool painting, that's also really cool here. If you also like, Penn Jillette's style, he's all throughout this. He narrates it. He does interviews in it. That might appeal to you as well. So this checks a lot of my boxes, obviously, but nobody talks about this movie that I know of.
I've never heard of it.
I watched it again. I'll tell you why, actually. My wife and I were in Los Angeles, and we went to the Getty, which is an art museum in Los Angeles, beautiful art museum. And they had a lot of these oil canvas, from that era, some of the Dutch masters in there, and it really reminded me of the Vermeer thing. And so it got me thinking about that. And then we went to Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, and they have a camera obscura there, which is this way you create a dark room, you poke a small hole, and it creates a reverse image of what's happening outside the hole. It's hard to explain. Look up camera obscura, you'll find something that can explain it better than I will here. But there's also an element of the invention in what he's trying to figure out how Vermeer painted that talks about camera obscura. So those two things, and I was like, I got to watch this movie again. And so my wife and I watched it just a couple nights ago, and man, I was as compelled as I was the first time just watching it all again. It's really astonishing stuff. So huge recommend for me. It's called Tim's Vermeer. By the way, it's not on any streaming services. You'll either need to rent it for $3 or buy it for $13. So there's slight investment. Ian, what about you?
Yeah, I'm hopping on something that's already been recommended. It's Yellow Jackets. This show is good. It's ticking my boxes. It's doing my things. It's stirring my brain. It's just one of those shows that is so fun to share as a community and to talk about and to spin up ideas and conspiracy theories and what if stuff. It's so much fun. If you don't remember from a few weeks ago, Jonathan, you recommended it a few weeks back, I think. The premise is that similarly to Lost, there is a plane crash and people are stranded. And the story takes place between 1996, where we have the stranded people, and the present day, Aaron, 2021, where a certain amount of them have survived. We don't know how many, we don't know who. Some might be in hiding.
Yeah,
some
it's
might
fun
be dead,
to watch how the show plays with that.
Yeah, very, very much, because you can't just assume that because you're seeing them now, that's who makes it off the island. Great mystery, great twists and turns. It's funny in some places as well, like the way they deliver some stuff. Well worth a watch. It's 10 episodes long. The finale just came out. I think is it HBO that you can watch
it's
it on?
Showtime. The finale's not coming out for us.
Of course it is.
The finale's Sunday for us.
Oh, is it Sunday? Sorry. So yeah, the UK gets it a few days later. Anyway, I think we get it on the Friday afterwards or something like that, and we get it on Sky or Now TV. But yeah, well recommended.
I mean, when this episode airs, the finale will have already
correct.
Happened.
Yeah. But
no,
really worth a watch.
I agree, and I think I even said it was just I like the first I think I recommended after 2 episodes, and I just said, look, I don't know where this is going, but it's amazing right now. But it has continued to stay amazing.
It has, yeah. So I've seen 8 or 9 now.
9,
and
I think. Or maybe your 9th one's coming out today or something. But it's everything you said. I echo it. I love how this show plays with structure. It is similar to Lost in that way too. I think the way it plays with past and present and all.
For sure. But it does it much better.
You guys, I haven't watched this show. It is on my list. I have added it to my queue of things I want to watch. The way you talk about it really reminds me of my thoughts on Station 11. There's just this idea of jumping around in time, and Station 11 has continued to be amazing as well.
I really want to watch that because I love that book. I read that book last year for the first time, and it just blew me away. So I'm really excited when I get a chance to watch it. That's HBO Max, right?
Correct. Jonathan, what about you?
Mine's actually it's an app now. I honestly don't know how old this is because I think the app is pretty recent. I don't know how old the website is, but based on what I've done on the website, I don't think the website's super old. But I just randomly found out about this through somebody I follow on Twitter was tweeting about it, and this is called Serialized, and this is basically Letterboxd, but it's television shows, which I've been wanting forever. So it's serialized, and I will say, like Letterboxd, there's no E at the end. So it's like serializd.com. And then there's an app, I think definitely on Android and iPhones. I don't know what else is possible out there, Google, whatever. I'm sure it's on those too. But I really like it. I just thought it was worth mentioning because I don't know if anybody else is like me. Now I have used TV tracking apps. Like I know Aaron introduced me to some of those. Like there's Track TV and stuff like that. Yep. So maybe this really isn't. Maybe this is going to kind of just fill in for that. But I don't know. But it's cool. Like you can make lists on it. You can just like you can do stuff on Letterboxd. The one thing I don't like about it, and if somebody knows some way you can do this, and I'm just started playing around with it. I don't think at this point you can mess with individual episodes. They do have things broken down into seasons. Like, so if you just want to put a couple seasons on your watch list because you've already watched a couple, you can do that. But you can't, you don't get to mark off episodes. You just mark off. Yeah, see, that's the one. And I would assume that's going to come. And that's why I think this is pretty early on. And it seems like just a necessary feature. You would think so. I mean, that's kind of like how Paramount Plus didn't have a queue when it launched. I'm like, what is this? I can't. So that is the one drawback. But I have drawbacks with like Track TV and stuff too, though. There's stuff on there that gets on my nerves just about like the way you can track stuff sometimes. I don't know how to. That's sure. That's a whole other explanation. So everything's going to have issues, but that's the biggest one for this. And I don't know. I'm just hoping that's something that eventually gets dealt with. And I've Googled some stuff on it, and I know other people have talked about it. So I'm pretty sure there's no way to do that. I don't know how I would have missed that. But this is also, you can have followers. You can follow other people. If people like to write reviews and stuff like that, you can do that. So it's very similar to Letterboxd in that way. So I don't know. It's just kind of fun. I just discovered it, like I said, this last week and a half, and I've just been playing around with it. So
nice.
I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, it's serialized.com, or just look up Serialized in your app store of choice, and you should be able to find it. Just don't add that E by the last D. That's not in there. So it won't help you.
That is Serialized without the E. You can find that app. Yellow Jackets is streaming on Showtime, and Tim's Vermeer is available for rent or purchase on all major platforms. Well, that's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to us. P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri 65738. Hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. He is at Wits End.
Oh my goodness. I checked out. Man, I checked out. I was done. I may as well be downstairs making a cup of tea. WHITTSINNED.
And at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Ian Whittington, a begged question, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy National Coffee Break Day.
That's what Ian was on.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
I was trying to be too efficient. I was writing like show notes, the description. I was like getting McDonald serialized. What if Thor was an only child? I'm so sorry.
Amazing. We were both just gonna let you. We were gonna let you find your way back.
I was like, why isn't Jonathan saying any? Fuck, it's me. I pride myself on being focused and present, and I just was not.
It's like those moments. It's like those moments in marriage or any relationship, really, where you are so sure you're doing a great job at multitasking and doing one thing while somebody else is having a conversation with you, and all of a sudden you know that there's silence, and you're like, "Oh shoot, I missed a prompt. I missed a prompt." Yeah, it's the worst. And then you just have to eat crow. Then you just have to be like, "Yeah,
take it.
I'm
so sorry.
I suck. I'm sorry." Danae, I put her on this.
I forgot to hit record first, so I decided to wait and come back until I was recording. So that my first words were my first words on the first words thing.
Are the first words not your first words if they're not recording? Is this like
That's true.
The thing falls in a forest, does the other things know about the thing?
Mm-hmm. It's like if it's not in the box and being observed, is it there at all?
Schrodinger's recording?
Schrodinger's podcast is what I was going to say, but yes.
Schrodinger's Danae. Schrodinadian?
Schrodinger's podcat.
Nice.
All right, there it is.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, what's up?
Check out Jonathan. Check out Ian's poopery.
What is that?
Oh, see, it's perfect.
Oh, that's actual potpourri.
Nice.
Yeah, he actually went and got potpourri for the basket.
My mom used to do that. I don't think I've had potpourri in a house in like 30 years.
Neither have I.
Yeah. But my mom used to do that frequently, and then she stopped. I don't know why, but
because it doesn't work. It doesn't. Potpourri does not work.
My mom brought rich people's potpourri, so no, I have no idea.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Clue. I did not.
Yes. Yeah, that is rich pourri. That's totally different.
My mom is Mommy Warbucks. I didn't know if you knew that. That's her name.
That is poshpourri.
Poshpourri.
Poshpourri. Very nice.
That's great.
Very nice.
This is great. This is wonderful. This is why I'm here.
I do think it's funny. Somebody in Discord said they now don't understand how to pronounce cereal after last episode.
Yeah, cereal is one of those words that loses meaning, apparently, the more that you hear it. Because when I was putting the outtakes in, I was like, I don't know what word he's saying either. It was just a noise.
Right?
So, cereal.
But isn't cereal and cereal, like, don't you say them the same? Like, as far as, like, S and C, don't they still...
Yeah.
The two different words.
Yeah, they're pronounced the same.
They're two different words, but you still say them the same. I mean, because, like, you say, like, male and male, you say differently, but I screw those up. Like, M-A-L-E and M-A-I-L, those actually are two, like, you say those differently.
Wait, what?
Like...
Male and male.
Like, you're emphasizing the I when you say that. I say it like...
I did?
I say it the same.
Male.
I just say male. And my wife always makes fun of me because I'm like, I'm going to go get the mail. And She's like, you're going to go get a human man? Like, what are you doing?
Why is there a man at our door?
But Aaron...
Wow, that is such a subtle distinction.
It is, but
That's
you
really
nailed it.
interesting.
Like, you did it. And I can do
Wow.
male. I just can't do male for some reason.
Male.
It's just it's a Southern thing.
Male
with
and
me.
male.
I don't have
No,
many
it's like
Southern
the I
isms,
creates a you, male.
But you did. I mean, Aaron, you didn't hear it, but you said it differently.
No, I didn't. I thought I said the exact same thing. That's so wild.
I'm so triggered right now.
Yeah, there is something. What is that? What is that called when you say some? There's an actual term for it. Actually, I have this somewhere. Let me find this. The term for when you say a word over and over and over again,
and it loses meaning.
Yeah, there is
and
a word
it starts
for that.
to lose meaning. There's an actual word for that.
Yeah, it's called being an asshole.
I remembered it without looking it up, which I'm very happy with. Semantic satiation is what it's
you
called.
put it in a yes. That was at the end of a.
Mm-hmm. It was in a script, wasn't it? We talked about this.
That would come off so sudden. I'd be like, satiation.
Satiation. I love me some of that satiation.
My wife weirdly has a lot of North stuff because she's from Florida, and you have a ton of Northern people in Florida. So
yes,
there's a lot of accents in Florida that are not Southern, and so she kind of developed some of that. She has words like she's like a broadcaster, like you are, Aaron. Like she's pretty much just straight, doesn't have much of an accent at all. But occasionally she has words where it's like, what, are you from Boston? Like, why are you talking about parking the car in the yard? What do you...
Oh,
What is
yeah,
that?
park the car in the yard.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Babs has made an appearance.
Leeds. Is Leeds a thing? I don't know.
Leeds is a thing.
Leeds is it's
Okay.
also
Leeds
a place
is
where I've
definitely a
lived.
thing.
It's definitely.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
been-
Leeds is definitely a
Leeds
place.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is London real, or did
Well,
I
know
make that
London.
up?
God.
I mean, Narnia? That's not a place, really.
Where is Leeds?
Way north. It's
Is it in
pretty
England?
close to. It's in England. Yeah, it's near
Okay.
like Manchester and.
So, and once again, is the UK the entire thing, or is the UK its own thing? I get
Welcome to
confused.
BTS Geography.
I got this completely wrong when you last asked me this, so I'm just going to say
I've
no.
asked you this before. I don't think it was me.
On BTS, or Aaron has. It was on BTS.
It may have been me. It was on BTS, but it may have been.
Yeah, so there is no variation that includes Ireland. There is.
Okay.
I
Ireland
think
is its own thing.
Ireland is its own thing. The United Kingdom is Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And in
Okay.
Great Britain, I think, is those three plus all of the surrounding islands other than Ireland.
The other thing we have to talk about is that BeatStar has taken over our Discord. Like, it's insane.
Oh,
Like, I
really?
have 20 friends on BeatStar now.
Holy shit.
Which channel?
From fans. The Patreon channel, because it only just went live yesterday as we're recording this, or this morning, actually.
it.
The episode just went live this morning as we're recording this. But the people who get a chance to listen early on
that's so
Patreon,
funny.
by the way, ad-free
That's
on
right.
Patreon if you want to be
Ad-free on
a
Patreon.
member.
Yeah, I'm not going to include that in the edit.
I noticed today, Ian, you've got me on a couple songs. I didn't realize it because you haven't been bragging about it.
Nope,
So
I've been sniping you. I've literally been going through like the songs that I'm best at and most confident with, seeing which ones you were first at and sniping you for like 6 hours. Just like, I'm going to
Yeah.
beat him. And then he'll never know. He won't revisit this song for weeks and then be very
Yeah, and I haven't.
mildly inconvenienced when he sees them and then reclaims his throne.
I think the game is produced really, really well, and that's one of the reasons it's very addictive. Plus, when you get a song you know and love,
Oh, yeah.
it's so much fun.
you make me a believer.
Sure. Yeah, Imagine Dragons. I was thinking more like Chandelier. Like I have
Yes, a good
Chandelier.
song, sorry. I don't know if I put the right name into the group. So I'm really sorry if you added somebody random. I guessed. I could be wrong.
What do you mean? You like gave yourself a different username?
Well, because for some reason I got used to the idea that you can't just put your name. So my usual is ENGW because there's fewer ENGW signed into things than there are Ians. But BeatStar doesn't care. It lets you have your name. So everyone's like,
Listen to
"Hey,
you guys
Aaron."
talk about this. I now know how Danae feels when we're talking about movies.
Yeah, I'm sure. One of the things that has been, I don't know if I should remind you of this if you knew or had forgotten, because there is a trolley aspect that you could do to me. But one of the things is narrator that has been so difficult is that there are very common words that I have trouble saying. And they usually have to do with R's and L's that are close because I pronounce my R's and L's, in a way that's more distinct.
Cereal.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But the most common one is regularly. That's the one I just like. Those 4 syllables. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you can do it.
No,
but
I was wondering if I was wrong.
No. Most people have no problem with it, but I'm just like, I can't say it regularly. Like it's like there's like a
The irony that you can't say regularly.
I know, right? Have you heard the story of after my heart event where, I was in the hospital or whatever, and I came out that we were talking about possible things that could have happened and how being out without oxygen affects the brain and those kind of things. And that like 1% of people who have happened to them what happened to me come away fine. Like, it's like a 5% survival rate and like 1%, come away without any damage. And so I said, it's something along the lines is it's really nice that I didn't come away with any neurological damage.
Oh no! Did you mean to?
No, because I can't say the word.
Oh no!
And my wife just looked at me like,
holy shit!
Yeah, you okay?
A-okay.
But she knows I struggle with like those combinations.
That would have been such like an about turn moment back into hospital with you.
I would attempt to pronounce whatever name Ian has given himself, but I just coelacanth. Coelacanth.
Nice.
Nice. So,
yeah. There's an R in there that's tricky.
Thank you. It's not just the letter R I have trouble with. It's when it's combined with L's.
Oh, Jonathan.
I did not start this.
I got a new ship.
Oh, very cool.
Can you
name Jonathan
it?
ID the ship?
No,
Can you ID it?
No, I'm terrible with that stuff.
So that is the USS Bonchoon.
I was going to say that.
Troll.
I don't even, that name doesn't even strike me.
It's not actually named on screen, so that's probably why you wouldn't have.
What is it from?
So it's in a few episodes, but it's most famously in Generations. This is the ship at the very end after the Enterprise has crashed. Spoilers. That's the ship that rescues the survivors.
Gotcha. So why is it so popular then to have a model? Well, I don't know, but Star Trek, I mean, there's like characters, there's action figures for characters that were in one scene.
So Eagle Moss has gone through most of the back catalogue and they are really, really struggling. So now it's like, look at this new special edition ship that was in one episode and 5 seconds of a movie, because they've done the vast majority and they're still selling really well.
What episode was it in?
So it's in, there's an episode where Miles O'Brien, they're chasing after his old captain.
The Wounded?
Good pull. And
no, I love that episode.
It's a Nebula class ship, and that's the ship that his Captain Maxwell is on.
If I can't name the ship, I can name the episode.
Yeah, you can. Title of your
Welcome
sex
to Behind
tape.
the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins.
We lost Aaron.
No, we need to get started, and not just because we're talking Star Trek, but because it's time to start the show.
We can talk about Jose Chung's From Outer Space, or Clyde Bruckman's Final Response.
The War of the
Copropages.
Corophonages. The Crossepterygians.
What was the one? I was thinking about one the other day. I don't remember the name of it, but one that I don't ever talked about is, I just remember the opening it's like second season, and the opening is like these teachers, and they're having a conference about like what play they're going to do, and they're like, we can't do Grease. Like that's too profane.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you think they're like, like it's a, I don't know, like uber conservative kind of thing. But then at the end, there's like, let's say a prayer, and then they pray to Satan. Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
And it's a really creepy episode because it ends up being about like these devil worship. But I just remember that opening because it's like, can't do Grease. That's way too.
Yeah, that's Die Verletz is the name of that one.
Yes.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at all of the...
Oh, can't you see? Baby, belong to me.
Good to have you back, Danae.
Sorry. I spaced out. What are we talking about?
Cereal.
Nice.